I've been retired for 8 or 9 months now. And in today's video, I want to share with you from my perspective, 8 things that vanish once you retire. One item for every month that I've been retired. And the last one is something that not enough of us think about, but in my opinion is the most important one. So be sure to stay to the end. The first one is, unfortunately, we lose easy access to debt. Now, we don't lose easy access to destructive debt, expensive debt, things like credit cards. But it becomes harder to get a mortgage if you're not working, if you don't have a regular source of income. It becomes harder to get loans like that, large loans. I guess mortgage is probably the biggest example. So that's the first one. The second one is, unfortunately, our risk tolerance changes. So we lose access to that core stability that we had when we were younger, that ability to weather the storm. And why is that? Now, in this case, I'm drawing on my years as a financial advisor. For 20 years, over 20 years, I was a financial advisor. I'm now retired. But both for myself and what I saw with my clients is our risk tolerance changes as we retire, as we lose access to that twice a month lovely, lovely thing called our paycheck. And that's just part of retiring. But as we can no longer have new money coming in, the average person between themselves and their company saves about 15% a year of their salary in their 401k. And that's new money coming in that if the market goes down, we can dollar cost average in. But once you're retired, you don't have that paycheck, obviously. And unfortunately, this loss of tolerance for pain, what ends up happening is, during the great financial crisis, um, during the dot-com bubble, that probably, if you're about my age, that caused all of us pain, but likely didn't raise to the point where I can't sleep. I'm constantly thinking about it. Didn't go from worrying to what I call angst, and it didn't rise to the level where if you become a forced seller in a down market because of your emotions. So that's the second one. The third one is related to the second one that we just talked about. We lose our paycheck. And I got to tell you, that was the most painful part for the first 2 or 3 months of being retired is, every 15th and 30th of the month, I thought, I really miss my paycheck. And you just think, what was the dollar amount? What was your take home pay? And it's, I've lost that. But that's why you have a plan, right? That's why you work hard. That's why you come up with a plan. So you have the confidence to say, I'm not getting that paycheck, but you know what? I'm fine. And if you don't have a plan, I urge you to work with a fee-only financial planner to come up with a plan so you do have that confidence. That confidence is a really big gift. And if you're somebody that's never going to work with a financial advisor, please don't go it alone. Please don't make your own plan in Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets. Use software that's designed for you. The software I like, it used to be called New Retirement. It's now called Bolden. There's a link in the description below. If you use that link to sign up, you'll be supporting the channel. I am an affiliate. It's very affordable. As I record this, it's about $120 a year. Well worth the price for that confidence. Okay, another thing that you lose is that wonderful feeling every quarter when you get your 401k statement, when you get your financial statements from Schwab, Fidelity, wherever your accounts are from your bank. That wonderful feeling of the account balances most of the time, 90% of the time, 80% of the time, those account balances going up. And it can kind of take your breath away the first couple times that you look and you see instead of money going in, money's going out. But that's just part of the game. Again, that's why we have a plan. You want to have that confidence because you don't want to sacrifice unnecessarily. You don't want to retire and then not spend the money that you set aside for retirement to do the things that you want to do. So how do you get over that challenge of seeing that those balances go down? How do you get comfortable with spending? a couple things. One, there's a great book. It's called Die with Zero, admittedly a weird title, but a great book, Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. He talks about the importance of spending the money while we're still young enough to enjoy that money. And the other thing is, if you're not retired yet, one thing to think about is try to flex that spending muscle before you retire, because it can take a lot of us 2 to 3 years to get comfortable with spending on a regular basis. Um, and so if you've done your plan, if you have enough money to retire, if you're saving 20 or 25% of your salary, even 15%, maybe think about saving a little bit less. This is for people that already have enough to retire. Think about saving a little bit less and actually spending that money. Okay, number five, and this can be particularly painful and difficult to deal with, and that is we lose easy access to a routine. We lose easy access to a common mission. We lose easy identification with who we are, right? You go to a party, people ask you, what do you do for a living, right? It's one of the most common questions people in the United States ask at a social setting. It's not that way around the world, by the way, but it's definitely that way here in the United States. And getting comfortable saying, I'm now retired. I used to be a financial advisor, but now what I enjoy doing is A, B, and C. And that's how I answer it, right? I tell them what I used to do, but I quickly pivoted into this is what I'm enjoying doing now. And I think that can be helpful if you're thinking about how do you address that. Now, losing access to the routine, right? Even as painful as it was, we wake up at 5:30 in the morning, we go to the gym, we work out, we shower, we get ready to work, we drive a half hour or an hour to work. Boy, that's a large part of our day. Then we're at work 8, 9, 10 hours a day. We come home, we really only have 2 to 3 hours to ourselves. Part of that is rest and relaxation. Part of that is connecting with your family. Part of that is doing fun things with your friends. Hopefully, part of that is vacation. By the way, quick aside, um, about half of all Americans don't use all their vacation. If that's you, a great way to start preparing for retirement is make sure to use all your vacation. Go out there, explore things, do adventures, do things that when you lose your health as we get older, when you can no longer do these things, you'll look back and at 80 or 85 years old and say, I'm really glad I did that when I was 40, 50, or 60 years old. Okay, number six, another thing that we lose is, frankly, our work friends. And I was very close to the people I worked with. I worked with a great bunch of people. But having been a financial advisor for 20 years, I knew that, I was losing proximity. I wouldn't be sitting next to somebody at work every day. I was losing access to a common mission. And my friends are still going to be my friends, but I'm not going to connect with them as often. So that's the sixth thing. Remember, the last one here is the most important one before we get there. The next one is you lose, by the time we've been working for 20, 30, 40 years, we have some influence in the industry. We have connections and networks. It's easy for us to get things done, and we lose that access. Um, and that's as it should be. It's time for that next generation. But the most important one is our health. And at some point, we're going to start losing our health. Unfortunately, by the time we're 60 years old, most of us are going to have less than 1,000 weeks of healthy, active time remaining. I want all of us to squeeze all the juice out of the youth of our senior years. If you like this video, this is the next video that the YouTube algorithm says you should watch specifically for you. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.